Back in 2011, I came as a guest by myself. I was always interested in the paranormal, and they were having an event. And I came and I enjoyed it so much, I just kept coming back. I own the Shanley. I'm the owner since 2018. Put out a Facebook post that he needed help, volunteers to help guide the tours. And I said, heck, I'm there every other month anyway. I might as well come and help. And for 2 years straight, 2014 and 15, I came every Friday and Saturday night. I do believe I missed one weekend for a wedding, and just volunteered. Sal passed away in 2016, and I took a couple years off from the building. I stepped away, and that was kind of like cutting my right arm off. The Shanley Spirits had become my second family. Sal, he was my dear friend and my second home. Now it's my first home. In 2017, the hotel went back up for tax auction, and I was lucky enough to be able to purchase it from the person who bought it at tax auction. I love the place. It gets under your skin. It was something that I felt I needed to do to try to save the building, because I was really afraid of what might happen to the building if it was under new ownership, that it was not going to be a place for the paranormal community anymore. It's home for most people in the paranormal community. They feel when they walk through that door that it becomes a second home to them, or at least a special place in their hearts. I always knew it was going to be a challenge because it's a 130-year-old building. There's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that, you'll look at the building and go, oh, they've hardly done anything to it. But, the $40,000 boiler and the new heating systems, just everyday major repairs and maintenance just to keep the place going. Well, the original structure was built in 1845 by a man named Thomas Rich. It passed through many hands, and then in 1895, the hotel burnt to the ground, down to its foundation. And the process of rebuilding only took 6 months, and it was opened back up again. So it was a lot of manpower, I'm assuming, because they didn't have a lot of power tools back then. The Shanleys took it over in 1906. And that's kind of where the hotel got its name. The Shanleys were very well known in the New York City area. Times Square was nearly called Shanley Square back in 1904 because the Shanleys were such social elites down there. James Shanley, one of the brothers, came up and loved this hotel so much, he put a $10,000 offer in, and it was quickly accepted. James Shanley was notably in the Irish Mafia. So there's a lot of secrets to this building that you won't find in any newspaper articles or things like that. Investigating paranormally, we come across a lot of EVPs and stuff, about murders. And we have psychic mediums who come on all the time, and they'll go, there's stuff here that's hidden. I'll go, I don't want to know. Hey, if you can ever find that gold and silver, let me know. Yeah, it'd be nice. There's a secret room in the building. Sal accidentally found it by almost falling through it. It's in one of the closets in our, next to a phone booth. And you literally go into the closet, very normal sized closet, and there is a little piece of floor that looks like a jigsaw puzzle. It just lifts up out of the floor, and you'd never know it was there. And it goes straight down a ladder into like a 12 by 12 concrete room. It's pretty treacherous to get down there. We have it padlocked. We can't let people down there, but it is very treacherous to get down there. I've heard stories that Sal had found things down there. Again, just rumor things, but and now we believe most of that was used for prohibition, hiding the booze and liquor. Like I said, they went without being detected a while because James Shanley wasn't arrested until the 1930s when Prohibition was almost over. He was arrested with a bootlegger named John Powers, and they were arrested by the federal agents. But he got off pretty easy. I think it helps to know the Roosevelts. I've done a couple EVP sessions down there when I was down there, and I got a couple FUs down there. I guess I'm not supposed to be down there. It closed down and shut down completely. The whole building became abandoned in the 1990s. In 2005, a dear friend of mine, Salvatore Nicosia, purchased the building. He said the building always called to him when he went past. But with 15 years of abandonment, he did purchase it at tax auction, and the place was literally destroyed when he first walked in. He redid everything from the hand-stenciled floors, all the new plumbing, all the new electric, picked out wallpaper that he said the spirits helped him out with. He found out how special this building was for the paranormal activity. So he decided to change his whole business concept of just renting retail space and changing it into the paranormal tours that we have today. The prison was constructed, I believe, in 1900, but it was originally a reformatory for boys. And then it was converted to the prison. Yeah, it's huge. It's maximum security. So a lot of well-known prisoners had stayed over there. Ronald DeFeo from Amityville was over there at one point. Son of Sam was over there. The higher named inmates, they do shuffle around a little bit, but we know those two were definitely over there. Back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, a lot of the locals, because it was a bar and it was a boarding house, and I've even found evidence, we do have a spirit here that he says he is a prison guard. So when I look back in the New York State Census back in the 30s and 40s, sure enough, on the census of the Shanley, you have to list your name and you have to list your occupation, and there were prison guards who stayed here. So they rented rooms by the month. You know, I was like, oh, okay, well, that's a little bit of validation what, you know, type of paranormal activity we're getting. We had some type of validation for that. There was locals that would come up to me and say, yeah, I saw the woman in the hallway, or I experienced this and I experienced that. But I have had people actually come up to me and say, yeah, I've seen things, I've heard things. Probably one of the more scary ones, we had an event here, and it was an opening vigil, and we were to hold hands and not let go. The person who was holding the event said, whatever you do, don't let go of your neighbor. And I was sitting there in the dark, pitch black, and all of a sudden we heard major scratching coming across the ceiling. And we all were discussing it, and we all started getting white-knuckled, grabbing each other's hands, and we're like, that's not an animal. That's inside on the ceiling. And it kept getting closer and closer to behind me. Without a sound, it dropped from the ceiling to the floor, and all of a sudden was coming straight across the floor. And when I'm saying scratching, it sounded like what you could picture a person on all fours with 9-inch nails. And literally all of the guests and myself, we lifted our feet and we went, it's on the floor, all at the same time. And then silence. And then it just stopped. Everything just stopped. And we flipped on the lights and there was nothing. So that was one of the most scariest. Another time was I was volunteering on the upper levels of the hotel, and my friend was up in the bordello area. And when we came down for break time, everyone in her group, which was 5 guests, were incredibly excited and just screaming at the top of their lungs. And I'm like, what happened? They all saw a woman, all 5 people plus my staff or the volunteer at the time, saw a woman, all of them, full-blown apparition color, and then she instantly disappeared. I have had really profound, some very personal, of family members coming through for myself, but also we've had a lot of family members come through for guests. It's incredible. And it's quite overwhelming sometimes for the guests. So we always tell them when they come in, just be open-minded, and we don't want to know anything about them or their names. We try not to even know their names when they come in to do the investigation. So we always tell them when they come in, just be open-minded, and we don't want to know anything about them or their names. We try not to even know their names when they come in to do the investigation. But we...
You didn't turn your head at all. What was that noise we just heard back there? Do you know what that was? It sounded like someone was pushing on the door.
The door closed.
Did you hear it?
Yeah, I did.
Was that somebody coming in or going out? Or
no, nobody's here.
But you heard that?
Yeah, I did hear it.
But it didn't faze you.
I don't, I hear things all the time.
Right.
It has to be like running down the hallway. Then I get like excited. So we always tell them when they come in, just be open-minded, and we don't want to know anything. Just be open-minded, and we don't want to know anything. We always tell people, just be aware that, if something pertains to them, just speak up, because we have it all the time, particularly in the seance room and through the machines. We will have people's relatives and details come through for them. One of the most profound, and I won't get too into it, was we had a group of ladies here that they were from a town that was affected by TWA 800, the plane that blew up from the city, taking off of Kennedy, I believe, back 20 some odd years ago. It was very profound, and I couldn't talk about it for 3 or 4 days at a time. It was something that I will never forget. But, that stuff like that happens all the time. And every time it does, I just say, I could write a book. There's a picture that was sent to me of a man named Alfred Volkman. He was 19 years old. We have all the articles in our newspaper history book. We hear his name in the hotel through EVPs, and he always says, my name is Alfred Volkman. He murdered a 9-year-old girl named Helen Glenn back in 1930s in Greenville, which is about an hour from here. I don't know why they're here, but they're both here. He was executed in Sing Sing. He actually, in the newspaper articles, he tried to commit suicide by drinking poison, and they saved him and then sentenced him and executed him anyway. So I had a guest mention to me that they had familiar with a woman named Eva Koo, and she was a murderer. and was actually executed in Sing Sing, about the same time that Alfred Volkmann was, which is very odd. We do hear the name Eva once in a while here. I don't know if there's any connection, but he was told that she may have stayed here or been part of the Shanley enterprise or operations at some point. I'm really going to start looking into that because that is really interesting. Again, if it's mafia related, I don't know how much I'm going to be able to find. The spirits like a challenge. We roll the dice. We will actually ask the spirits to tell us what the number is going to be before we roll it. If we hear a number, that's a 12-sided dice in there. And a lot of times they actually tell us the number before we get even into the gentlemen's quarters, because we also have a dice in there and we also draw cards in there. They're amazing at it. I always tease her because she is my staff, Tracy, is a developing psychic medium. The one night we were in there and she said, "What's the card going to be?" And through this equipment, you're the psychic, right? So she said, "Okay, I say it's going to be a 9." And sure enough, it's a 9. And the one night I'll say it's going to be a 4. Sure enough, it's a 4. I don't know if the spirits are influencing people when they're telling us numbers or the person is guessing numbers. There's got to be a connection because it happens more than not. I owe the gentleman in the gentleman's quarters a lot of money because I gamble with them at $5 a hand, and I probably owe them like $500. I told them they know where I live. They can knock on my door. People wonder, is it them being a psychically connected that they can guess the numbers? Or are we being influenced by when we roll the dice and know the dice, or when we shuffle those cards and cut the cards that they've already told us the number? Are they telling that person, okay, stop shuffling, cut that card right there? So it's a mystery to me, and maybe a little bit of both, maybe a conscious connection, consciousness. They can go on to our website, thehauntedShanleyHotel.com, and you can book an individual room for a public event. You can contact me for private events. We have specials that we have for private events, small group and large groups. I'm starting this week Patreon, and that is going to be people who want to help and get discounts and things like that, a membership to Patreon.